Hello, I am Zahirul Alam. Welcome you all on Frankly Speaking. Our today's guest is His Excellency Mr. Frank Meyke, Honorable Ambassador of Germany in Bangladesh. Germany has always considered Bangladesh as their priority partner country for the development cooperation. They always emphasize and express willingness to provide assistance in socio-economic sectors. We shall hear his thoughts and shed light on matters relating to mutual interest. Mr. Meyke was born on 14th May 1949 in Havelberg, Germany. He worked in military service and as an English grammar school teacher before joining High Foreign Service in 1977. Welcome, His Excellency Mr. Frank Meyke on Frankly Speaking.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alam.
I'm
very
welcome,
glad
sir.
to be here.
Mr. Meyke, you arrived in Bangladesh in March. Before coming to Bangladesh, you served in different countries on different assignments in different capacities. So after your arrival in Bangladesh, how do you find your responsibility?
Well, it is as I expected. Of course, you try to prepare yourself as well as possible when you take up a new assignment. And I was very much aware of the long-standing bilateral relationship between Bangladesh and Germany, which has always been good, which has always been friendly from the beginning. I was aware of the long-standing development cooperation relationship since or before independence even. And I was very much aware that we are the second largest export market for Bangladesh, and that, of course, we are also interested to sell as much machinery and other good German products made in Germany to Bangladesh as possible. So I saw, just to mention these two fields of my work, saw areas which would make it interesting to come to Bangladesh as ambassador.
You mentioned some of the areas, but what are the priority areas? What are the key areas you would like to focus on?
Well, I'd say that the fields of trade and investment are really of top priority for the work of this embassy, and they must be. Trade and investment are the basis for social progress, and they are the basis in the last resort of a democracy, of strengthening human rights if you have a prospering society. It's amazing and admirable to see how Bangladesh, in adverse conditions, has developed favorably in many social and economic fields. We hear that it could do even better. There's amazing economic growth. There's, on the other hand, still poverty. The fight of poverty must be of top priority for any Bangladesh politician and for any political friend of this country. So trade and investment is the field where we can contribute in this fight against poverty and in this fight for strengthening of democracy and human rights. Development cooperation certainly is the other important factor.
Ambassador Meyke, just before the Europe Day in May, in a press conference, you said that it's important to enhancing investment and trade relations between the two countries. A congenial atmosphere and conducive atmosphere is needed. You just shed importance on that. What is the investment climate? What do you have so far experienced?
Well, we will certainly see that there is reluctance to go into new investment before the elections are safely over. I've been back in Germany in the European summer, not just for holidays, but for participating in a meeting of German ambassadors. I've been participating in an information day of the East Asia Association. It's the German Economic Federation, uniting all the companies that are interested in trade investment with Asia. And it became quite clear that, for instance, buyers here are getting a bit nervous as far as Bangladesh is concerned, because they see with the political climate being not as stable as we would wish it during campaigning for an election, and that we see that this might mean that deadlines for certain products that are to be expedited to foreign markets, that this may endanger their business. So with this kind of political lack of congenial climate, we must see that there is a certain reluctance that will only be overcome when there is security and stability regarding the elections.
But you know, the high-powered business trade delegation visited in Bangladesh in May, and they stayed. They visited a week-long time in Bangladesh spent. So, what are the key areas of the for the German investors to invest in Bangladesh? Which are the areas they're interested most?
These are certainly will remain to be ready garment industry. I would say that the IT sector, information technology, and thirdly, I would like to mention agro-based industries as sectors where there is an interest and where we will see some activities once the politically congenial climate is achieved. I'm very glad that you mentioned this trade delegation, because at that time, it was at the end of May, and it coincided with the problems in the garment industry at Sabah, that we could make clear at that time that investors and businessmen interested in Bangladesh from the German side think in long-term view. Of course, there is, as for an investor, the long-term view decisive, and we are confident that Bangladesh will take care of its problems that we could see at that time in the garment industry, as it will take care with the problems of domestic politics now during the election campaigning.
Do you think that the German investors are interested in power sector also?
Well, this is of course an investment in which we speak about very high volume of investment. And we have been very much involved as far as our development cooperation is concerned in the power sector. So far there is some experience. It's left to be seen in the medium term what can be done there. You may know that Ashuganj power plant, for instance, has been almost completely constructed with German assistance in 1970. We are still working at rehabilitating Block 4 and 5. There is a strong focus in our development cooperation on the energy sectors, particularly regarding renewable energy and energy efficiency. So with this kind of German experience and know-how, you could be sure at least that potential investors will be aware of the possibilities here that might arise.
You know that the European Union has relaxed some rules of origin for Bangladeshi products in European market. Apart from the European Union collective stand, do you have any plan to relax the rules of origin for Bangladeshi products to get more access of Bangladeshi products in your market?
I'm very glad for this question, because it gives me an opportunity to point out to Bangladesh viewers how very much united Europe is in some fields, and especially the field of trade. We don't have any national sovereignty anymore as far as trade is concerned. Trade policy matters are decided in Brussels. Of course, we have our European Parliament, we have our influence, a free market access to the European market, and the rules of origin are decided in Brussels. Of course, member states make their opinions known that we want them to be development friendly, and we have assurance that this will be the case when these rules of origin are being redrafted. Hopefully at the end of the year we have more improvement in that regard.
Honourable Ambassador, let's step into the issue of bilateral assistance. I have an account, please correct me if I am wrong. Since 1971, Germany has provided assistance to Bangladesh, which counts for an overall amount of approximately Taka 189.35 billion, equivalent to 2.31 billion.
It's bilateral development cooperation.
Under bilateral assistance, while Taka 161.202 billion, equivalent to 1.961 billion euro, through multilateral channels. So do you think the pace of development assistance has gradually been squeezed or declining?
Well, it has become of less importance relatively for Bangladesh, as you have made this amazing and admirable progress in the field of trade. But still, of course, there is a trusting partnership, and we can contribute. I would say with the next step is quite important for us. That will be, as far as our bilateral development cooperation is concerned, governmental negotiations between Bangladesh and Germany that will take place in October this year in Bonn. We are confident that there is a political willingness on our side that we can enlarge and increase with new commitments. Of course, this will depend on our budgetary situation. It will depend on governance issues in Bangladesh, especially in relationship to our bilateral development cooperation. But the willingness is there. As you said, this is a priority partner for us. It has always been and it continues to be. Bangladesh is a significant country as far as the relationship with Europe is concerned.
Yeah. See. So, but what are the matters? Who will attend and the issues will be discussed at the Bonn conference in October?
This is, as I said, a governmental conference. It is ERD will send its negotiators and will decide about its team. On our side, the head of delegation will be a high-ranking ministerial official of our Ministry of Development Cooperation. And presently, there are exchanges and preparations between the two sides regarding the issues, so that when they get together, they more or less can efficiently conclude what is possible between us.
Honorable Ambassador, you know that the next general election, which is due to held in 2007, is widely discussed and a matter of great interest for the people of Bangladesh, not only for the people of Bangladesh, but also for the friendly nations, donor countries, donor agencies across the globe. So before having your comments on that issue, our guest is Honorable German Ambassador Mr. Frank Meyke. So, Honorable Ambassador, I was pointing out the coming general election. It is very widely discussed and it's a matter of great interest indeed. So, what is your expectation revolving this election in Bangladesh?
Well, I believe we all will agree it is a crucial point, a crucial issue in Bangladesh politics and in the political life of Bangladesh. It's in a way the prerequisite to have further progress socially and economically. If you have a free and fair election, this is a decisive signal for the people here in the country, for friends abroad, for investors abroad, that there is improvement regarding a stable democracy here in Bangladesh, that there is here improvement regarding stability and maintaining human rights as we wish it in our democratic countries. We are here now in crucial times. It's election campaigning time. The prerequisite for free and fair elections is also to have peaceful campaigning. We all hope for this. And we hope and think that it is, of course, most important that the two major parties meet on these issues in the spirit of democratic tolerance and of mutual respect.
Do you think that the outcome of the coming general elections will largely depend on the aid or development assistance in Bangladesh from Germany's part?
Oh, not at all. The outcome will depend on the decision of Bangladeshi voters. And the elections will be of significance if they are free and fair, and if they are considered free and fair by Bangladeshi voters. Of course, we would hope that it's not only the perception, but that we can, by monitoring and by following the preparations, generally convince ourselves that this is now a free and fair election. And this is the signal for which we wait to see that Bangladesh is strengthening its democracy, its society.
In the last elections, I remember that the European Union sent 90-member observer team. So this year and the coming elections, do you think that the size of the observer team will be much larger?
I would hope for more. Yes, I'd say it would be important to have more than those that you have mentioned for the last elections.
We know that the Germany want to have the permanent membership in the Security Council. So how Bangladesh and Germany, the nature of the cooperation in the international arena?
We have very good trusting relationship within the United Nations. I could see when I took up my duties in March that there was not a month passing in which we wouldn't agree on mutual support for Bangladesh and German candidatures. The Human Rights Commission membership of Bangladesh and Germany, quite a proud achievement to be elected into this body for Bangladesh and for Germany. in each our groups with the highest numbers of votes, we have been supporting each other. There's, as I know, a very good relationship between the two delegations. I don't have to tell you how very much appreciated it is worldwide that Bangladesh is so very much involved with United Nations peacekeeping forces. We have to do our share too. And we meet from time to time, the Germans and the Bangladeshi soldiers on such missions. And that's, of course, a very honorable partnership we are in there.
Yeah. Honorable Ambassador, there has been some apprehension that the Germany is maintaining in their immigration policy a door-closed policy. Is it right? And do you think that it would be more difficult for Bangladeshis to get into Germany and have some work over there?
No. You may know, but you certainly know, we have our demographic problems. We must be interested in qualified immigrants. We had a fundamental reform of our immigration law in 2000. We have a low birth rate. And it is, for me, reassuring to see, or for Germans reassuring to see that we still don't get less. With our low birth rate, you might wonder why we are not having less and less Germans. We actually keep up our level of about 82 million Germans because of immigration. And still, it's an aging population. So Germany has to take this very much into account, that we must keep fit and active enough as population to take care of the increasing number of the elderly. For that, we need immigrants, qualified immigrants.
How did you find the people of Bangladesh in your stay, in 6 months stay?
I think a characteristic feature for which Bangladeshis are to be admired is what has been called resilience in adversity. At any rate, the human resource that you have here in Bangladesh of people that are willing to work hard and to take up their fate in their own hands is admirable. We Germans, when we get into history and politics of Bangladesh and Germany and see their analogies, to our minds come the analogy of 1971 in Bangladesh, 1945 in Germany. I was born, as you mentioned, in 1949. I haven't experienced World War II, but I've grown up in poor East Germany at the time, in the first years of the 50s, with parents and grown-ups telling us about the hardship of the war. Germans were very poor in the late 40s. Oh. And you know that we fortunately, due to the hard work of our parent generation, have done quite well afterwards. So we sympathize very much when we think of the tragic events in 1971 here and the devastation of the country, and we admire what has been achieved by the hard-working generation of Bangladeshis that were responsible to bring up the country to where it is now, to a stage where we really can point to proud social and economic achievements. You see poverty, you have to fight poverty. To be successful in the fight against poverty, it is so important that the political forces of the country unite and bring about a stabilization of democracy and free, fair elections.
Honorable Ambassador, before ending, I would like to have your comment that you have already experienced the Bangladeshi fans' enthusiasm, their intensity of their for the World Cup football. So what did you feel about the Bangladeshi people's enthusiasm?
This was wonderful. I'm so grateful to Bangladeshis for their enthusiasm. We were the host. We had a great festival of a couple of millions of visitors from abroad in our country because of the World Football Championships, and we had the same kind of enthusiasm here. I'm grateful, of course, for the sea of flags, especially the German flags. The Brazilians and the Argentinians were ahead, but otherwise one could say there are amazingly many people that are interested in German football and just had a great time watching what was going on. I spent my nights together with other Germans and Bangladeshi friends in those days at the German Cultural Institute, where the matches were broadcast. And I would say, even when we then finally didn't make it into the final as German team, the important thing was the spirit of togetherness.
Thank you very much, Mr. Meyke, for joining us on Frankly Speaking.
Thank you very much, Mr.